Welcome to the Penny Bloom Podcast. Ain't another place that has got more bombast. Romp past your mom, dad's listening to Tomcats. Talking everything that make you sad. We don't want that. We're here to make you smile. Put your mind at ease. Peace, love, and bloom, and always praise Keanu Reeves. This what we about. This some weeding now. We'll talk until we can't no more, and then we peacing out. Alright, let's go. Penny Bloom Podcast. It's the Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. It's the Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome into another episode of the Penny Bloom Podcast. 'Tis I, Colton Robertson, and I am joined today by Joseph George. What's up, homie?
What up, what up? Always glad to be here. Always a pleasure.
Always glad to have you, buddy, and we are continuing our journey through 52 years of film, 1970 through 2022. And you know, interestingly enough, we're hitting 1982, but we're also hitting 2019 somehow. We're talking Blade Runner today, which is an interesting movie. It's one that I had never seen before, had obviously heard a lot about, and because, I mean, now we've had Blade Runner 2049, and I never watched that, but I've heard it's awesome, and now, since I've watched this, I'll almost certainly be viewing that. You said you watched Blade Runner on Netflix.
I did. The final cut.
Okay. I watched the final cut as well. I watched it on HBO Max.
Ah.
So, that's interesting.
I think, weirdly enough, I think about a year ago I watched it on HBO Max, and then now, this time, I just, like on my thing, my remote has like a little microphone, and I just said Blade Runner, and it was like the first thing to pop up. So, I just, that's why.
Well, I was just questioning because there's apparently been 7 different versions of this movie.
Whoa.
And the definitive version is the final cut. So I was making sure that we both watched the final cut, because apparently there are 7 different versions of this movie.
Wow.
Which is kind of absurd. And I'm assuming 6 of those aren't available at this point. Like, they're probably just like the final cut's the final cut, the way that you can't really access, you know, like the Star Wars original trilogy unless you're paying gobs of money prior to the special editions and stuff. But man, this was a pretty good one. I was concerned for a lot of the movie, kind of slow a little bit at several points. But it was always very visually stimulating, which is always what kept me in it. Let me lay the groundwork real quick. Sorry, I went on and on for a second. Blade Runner released June 25th, 1982. Directed by Ridley Scott and written by Hampton Fancher and David Peoples, based on the novel Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, which is pretty much the dopest title for a novel I've ever heard in my life.
That is pretty... I kind of want to read that book now.
I do too. Yes, starring Harrison Ford. And Harrison Ford, a couple of good weeks in a row for Harrison Ford here with Raiders of the Lost Ark and Blade Runner. In a couple weeks before that, Apocalypse Now. He's popping up all over in these late 70s, early 80s movies. Was
there a little hint or like a nod to his Raiders role with the snake? He thought it was a fish scale, but then it ended up being a snake scale. And then when the lady told him that it's like, this is not a fish, it's a snake. And he said, snake? Like he kind of, he was like, snakes? And then, you
That's
know,
funny.
It didn't matter the rest of the movie. You know, it was just that was it. I thought it might have been like a little,
well, I feel like
Raiders role.
I feel like we see nods to like anything Star Wars and Indiana Jones and all these things, because they're kind of connected at this point with Harrison Ford being a protagonist in all of them. And there are overt homages and influences in multiple spots. Like, I don't know if you think 2019 LA looks like anything in the Star Wars universe, but boy, oh boy, did I think that shit looked like Coruscant.
That's what I was thinking the whole time.
I feel like that influenced the shit out of George Lucas in the prequel trilogy in terms of a vision for Coruscant, which is just really cool. And I like being able to make these sorts of connections to a universe that was already so rich to me, because now it's making it even more rich just through other films' influence, which is awesome.
Yeah, they really focused on the city too, like for a lot of shots. There was like a lot of this movie was just camera way back, or them like flying in the the cop car going through the city, or just.
And I'm not gonna lie to you, man. It didn't seem like it was about much else at points. Because there are like stretches of this movie where it feels like nobody talks. And it's just like you have to pick it all up through subtext. It's kind of like nothing is overtly said that should direct you in the right direction as to what is happening. It's just all happening. And Emily was watching this with me as she was getting ready for work this morning, and she was like, what the fuck is even happening? Like, and I absolutely get that, because I was really, really kind of clueless at several points. I had suspicions about what was happening. I was like, maybe what I'm thinking is right. And then, like, they did a pretty good job of wrapping up any of those thoughts for me, like tying the knot, making sure I was all in and I understood. But
I don't know if, like, this is just me expecting more out of this movie or something, but, like, I didn't just expect it to be, oh, there's replicants on Earth and Harrison Ford plays the guy who has to kill them, and that's literally it. I thought it was going to be like, oh, they're becoming way more human-like. Maybe we shouldn't kill them. I thought there was going to be like this whole, maybe we shouldn't kill replicants anymore, like whole Westworld, conversation basically.
Well, I think that was what they were kind of getting at towards the end of the movie, but it's another one of those things that comes like subtext. They're not going to say it. It was just kind of like, because when Harrison Ford does kill one of the replicants, he like clearly feels sorrowful about it. Like, he's
like, you can definitely tell within Harrison Ford's character development that he himself is going through like, whoa, these are like very human, like they're not very different from us at all. This is weird. My whole life has been killing these things. Like, makes sense for him to like start to realize and stuff. But I thought it was going to be like, I don't know. I guess I was expecting like the Tyrell Corporation to have a way bigger role in this, like I thought it was going to be more of Harrison versus the Tyrell Corporation than him just like going out and killing them. But
and I do think that's part of the like weird message behind this movie. I think they're going less for they are becoming more human, and more that the humans aren't so far off from just being drones. Like, they're all shells of this Tyrell Corporation. Everyone's doing something at the behest of them and not really doing anything of meaning to them. Like, we don't see much difference in Harrison Ford's character, Deckard, than we do any of the what were they called?
Replicants.
That's right. And there's several theories abode that is our boy himself a replicant, and
they say it to him. So. I mean, like it said to him, "Hey, this whatever something test. Have you ever taken it yourself? Like is I think Rachel says that to him.
Yeah, Rachel did.
Yeah, like have you taken this test yourself?" And
well, there's that one little shot where he says, like, he's talking to Rachel and she's like, "If you let me go, will you hunt me down and try to kill me?" He says, "No, I wouldn't. I owe you one." And he walks behind her and he says, "But somebody would." And his eyes are glowing the same way hers are glowing. And I was like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, I like how they gave like a subtle, it's very subtle to tell the difference between like a replicant and like a human in this movie. And it's like just the eyeball, you know, like with the owl, you know, had
Right.
the same shine, and like that shine in the eyeball. Like, is that something that is just like for camera, like for the audience, or do replicants' eyes legitimately look different, like in the universe, you know?
I think their eyes do look differently, or like if they're hit by a certain light, they look differently. But I can't really say for sure. It just overall the movie kind of, it didn't pose more questions than it answered, but the answers weren't as fulfilling as I would have hoped. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just kind of like, you really, really got to pick apart. You got to really think about it for it to, and like, I'm okay with that. You know, Ridley Scott likes you to really get up in your noggin and think about what's happening. But all in all, I thought this movie was more about the visuals and the visual effects than anything else. Like, this was a beautiful, beautiful film. Like, it looked wonderful.
Oh yeah, that the just the shot, like not even just the like landscape shots or landscape, like the citywide shots, where it's just showing the shit. Like obviously those, like that's beautiful and stuff, but like even whenever that one replicant that he's chasing like smashes through like a lot of glass, like through some display cases, and like she falls in snow, like just like I don't know, it was just a very beautiful movie. Like
it was just visually stimulating because like I said, there are stretches where no one's talking. Like, the point of it is to watch what is unfolding, and that's mostly like, you don't need to know more than what you're seeing at points, which is an interesting way to make a movie, you know, and like, it was effective. Like, you know, I get it.
Not much happens, you know, like he's like, we have him ordered to kill these replicants. He starts killing them, and only one of them really gives him a hard time. You know, like every other one that he comes in contact with dies pretty like right then and there.
Right.
Yeah, it's like very like whenever you kind of take a step back and really like look at what happened, not much, like a lot, like I wonder if you take out the visual shots, how much of this movie's left. Like,
I think it poses a lot of philosophical kind of questions about like the potential development of AI, and you know, if we do get to this point with robotics, at what point are they not just alive? And you know, they get into that in Westworld and stuff. And you haven't seen Westworld season 3 yet, have you? But this is more the question they start. Like, I feel like Westworld season 3 is another one that is very influenced by Blade Runner, and it's like kind of questions like, how different are they? Like, not just are robots becoming more human, but are the humans more like robots?
I think the whole time I was watching this, I like would just love if, well, not love, but I thought like a twist that could happen like in this movie is what I was thinking. Like, okay, one twist I was thinking is that the Tyrell Corporation, they have these super, super good replicants that they're basically already human-like. And I was thinking that, like, okay, probably a lot of the population of Earth is replicant, but they don't, like, know it. Like, I would have, like, I thought that was going to be a twist that came out, is that, like, Rachel isn't the only, like, replicant that didn't know she was a replicant, like, to begin with. I thought, I thought it was going to be these Nexus 6 and Nexus 7 were just steps to get people comfortable with replicants being so human-like, to then the Tyrell Corporation being like, oh yeah, by the way, half of the population is replicants, and you've been living with them like this entire time. I thought that was going to happen, but... And
it's also really interesting that, like, what's the morality of giving them a 4-year lifespan?
Yeah.
If they can think and they can live, of course they'll resent you for only giving them 4 years to live. Like duh.
I think like just telling them that they'll die in any specific amount of time, even if you gave them like 60, like them knowing
you're
that they
limiting
will die, like that's, I guess they have to be, because like
if you're genetically engineered and stuff, like
wouldn't they just be immortal basically? Like they're immortal if not given a limit. I don't know.
No,
I guess I don't know how the
necessarily,
science
but-
works with these, you know, if they're like truly just genetic, you know, like
True.
but yeah, that no one's gonna be happy, you know, like the robots, like whenever we make them, they're not gonna be happy like with what we've set for them. Like it's just very weird because like this conversation is becoming way more and more of like a legitimate, like it could be like within our lifetimes, like that this stuff actually starts to happen like at the smallest level, which is wild. But
well, I mean, like I thought, like I was thinking as I was watching this, because it's set in 2019, you know, like we've lived 2019 now, and it's fascinating to see like
that's what they thought it was going to be.
Yeah, like it was a potentiality, like it's and like it's not like it's obviously a dramatic interpretation of it, but like, you know, corporations running the shit, people living real down bad, like it's not far off from what like sociopolitically I'm assuming is modern now. But yeah, it was
true. Yeah, I guess
it's I was thinking about that, and like how Westworld is set like in the 2040s, 50s ish. And it's like I was like, no way we have that by then. Something like that by then.
That's the thing with technology though, is that it's exponential.
I was like, but could we?
That's because Blade Runner, okay, it's made in the 80s. So they're thinking almost 40 years into the future, basically. And then with Westworld, it was made
2015.
Basically 40 years thinking into the future. So it's always like, in 40 years, will we have this? Is like the question, basically. Like, because they all like jump that far ahead. But the difference is the 40 years from the 80s to the 2020 is way different than the 40 years are going to be from 2020 to 2060. Like much, much more technology will come out in 2020 to 2060 than the previous. Like technology evolves at an exponential scale. So once we start it, like once we have the first like replicant or first, oh god, I'm blanking. What do they call them in Westworld? Freaking hosts. Yeah. Whenever we have the first one, from that point, it's like in 2 years or like 3 years, it'll be like full, you know, like just who knows what the world's going to be like in 40 years. Like that's a long time for stuff to evolve.
That reminds me of some stuff I've been seeing on the internet where it's like 2022 to 2000 is 2000 to 1978. And I was like, in the amount of years, yes, but not in terms of the leaps we've made technologically.
Like before the internet was like the thing that kicked everything into gear. Like in my opinion, like once the internet hit,
that comes between 1978 and 2000.
So like the internet hits, like things start developing rapidly. But then the iPhone, like from the iPhone on, is just technology has gotten crazy from that point. Like computers were like big rooms, you know, huge, crazy, like massive things. When the iPhone came out, it was a touchscreen phone that you could put in your pocket. It was insane. Like people couldn't understand it. And then from that point, like we were so mind blown that companies had to blow our minds every year to get us to buy stuff. So it's like just, I think like the internet is the biggest, but then like from the iPhone, from like that point, technology has just rapidly just gone. Just
yeah, it's crazy. I mean, and again, there's just no telling where we'll be at any, like, flying cars. What the fuck? When's that coming? When we getting that?
It's just not viable. You got to go really fast to take off, unless we have some easy levitating, way to just, like the Jetsons,
Yeah.
And like landing, you can't just like, like imagine if you had to like take off like an airplane in a flying car, like imagine if you couldn't just hop in this, like their cop cars and just,
Yeah.
I don't know, but yeah, that is bull crap. Like they've been predicting flying cars since like forever ago, and we still don't got them. You'd think we'd have something close to it by now.
Well, there was a point where, like, in the 1950s, they thought like it wasn't far off then. Like they've always thought flying cars were around the corner, and it's like, what are you thinking that for?
Yeah, I guess that just comes with, I think the
curiosity of the human condition.
Yeah, it's always just like, yeah, we'll have it. Like that's something that we'll just have, but people aren't comfortable with like saying that it's going to take 200 years for something to happen, because that's just like, they'll be long dead. Their kids will be long dead. So it's like, it's just weird to say that, like, I hope we have flying cars within the next 200 years. Cause like, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, exactly.
Doesn't really mean much. So like, I guess it makes sense to be just hopeful that it's going to happen in your lifetime, but we only live to be 100 about, and that's killing it.
That's
good. So
that's in the high end.
We don't really live that long on the grand scheme of things, like technology wise, but
you never know. And that's kind of what Blade Runner.
Hopefully through my life, like a fifth. I still got 4/5 left, hopefully. Or I'm like a fourth through.
I'm thinking like a quarter probably. Like for me, maybe I hope none less than
True.
that.
I guess, yeah, I hope I'm at, yeah, I guess, yeah. But
I guess, yeah.
Like, I don't know. I love like these movies that get you to just ponder, like that's like the point. It's visually beautiful. You go in to watch a good movie, but then like you're just supposed to think. It gets you thinking of the future and crazy stuff that's to come. But
well, and I think it poses like a really interesting conundrum as that has come up with all of our explorations of AI at some point, where it's like, if they become sentient, what's the morality of treating them like less than human at a point?
Mm-hmm.
And I think Westworld addresses that a lot, and I think most stuff that has ever involved humanoid robots has kind of addressed it.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, very...
I wonder, like, what is the differentiating factor between a human and a host? Like what would make some robot pass the threshold of like, we can't just kill it like a robot, or like we can't just treat it, like what is that threshold? Is it just consciousness? Like, is that the threshold? Like, if something is truly conscious and can think for itself, like, because we treat like a squirrel, even though like, people probably like kill squirrels without thinking of it, but like you still would treat like a squirrel different than like a PS4 controller, like you would still be like, okay, yeah, like I don't really, care about squirrels that much, but like it's way worse to kill a squirrel than to chuck a PS4 controller on the ground.
Right.
But like if this controller one day had an AI bot in it that could think for itself and have emotions and feelings, like, I still would rather save the squirrel, but like,
what's the morality of chucking your PS4 controller at that point?
At that point, yeah, I'm not as comfortable just chucking my controller now, because like, I don't know, like, I think consciousness,
that's abuse at that point.
Like, I think it's consciousness, like that's the differentiating factor,
right?
But it like,
God, if you had a conscious PS4 controller, that thing is just bound to fucking hate you, right?
Definitely. You're just pushing
Just
its buttons
using
all
it.
literally
You're
all day long.
literally
Yeah,
pushing
like,
its buttons.
damn. I just can't, for the life of me, like, why would we create human-looking slaves? You know? Like, if we were to do it, like, why would we make them look like us? Like, if we're, like, in this universe, they're used for slavery. Like,
Yeah.
off-world, used for slavery, not allowed on Earth at all. Like, and that's what they were designed for. Why, like, would we make them look like us? Like, it has to be, like,
A power thing.
yeah, like, if in our world, like, I'm curious to what they will be designed for initially. Like, if it is, like, legitimate slavery, basically, like, do we make them look like us initially? We don't. Like, we make them look as robotic as possible. Like,
Right.
I think, like, just in our real world. But then if something were to come along the lines of, like, a Westworld park or, like, an entertainment, it would make sense to make
It's
them look
horrifying,
like you. Yeah,
bro,
like,
because, like, the things that happen in sci-fi, like, obviously, like, the whole quote, like, science fiction is the precursor to science fact. It's horrifying whenever really, really rich motherfuckers are like, have y'all seen Terminator? What if we were the company who built that?
yeah,
And
that
it's like, wait,
robot
why
dog.
would you want that?
Yeah, like that robot dog, that company that strapped a gun to it. You know, like, have you seen that picture?
Yeah.
Like, imagine that. Imagine an army of those things. You know, like,
I hope there hasn't been any major developments in this department in the next few months.
we need a Tony Stark. You know, we need a
We
guy to realize that all these weapons are going to really bad people, and we need I don't know, we need someone to get stuck in a cave with a bunch of terrorists, and all of his weapons are there.
He built this in a cave.
Yeah.
Lots of scraps.
We need one of them to save us for, like, a reality like Blade Runner or, you know, something along this line, because the world doesn't seem very fun outside of the whole replicant problem. Like,
No, eternal darkness. It's always raining. Your only lights seem to be neon, which looks pretty for a time, but I'm assuming at some point it has to become bothersome.
probably smells bad. It's a lot of people. You know, that's a
and
lot of
you
people.
know, it's really cool that, like, with the technology to develop, like, the flying cars and stuff, it seems like our skyscrapers would tower in comparison to what they are now. Like, it looks like everything looks like a pyramid practically. Like, it's, which is cool. Like, the architectural advancement was dope, but it's like, at a point, what's too much? You know,
Like,
what becomes a Coruscant, an entirely city planet? Where's the greenery?
I
Where's
was wondering, like, with the like, we saw the inside of the Terrell Corporation guy's, like, apartment or house, whatever you want to call it, like, penthouse. We saw the inside of his thing, and then his opponent, the other genetic engineer, I forget his name, but the guy who had like the Duck Man and, like, you know, all those guys. Like, we saw his house. Like, they have a lot of space. Like, and I'm wondering if, like, everyone, like, has this, like, big of, like, a place, you know, like, because this guy didn't seem like he had a whole lot of money. Like, his place was beat down, yes, but, like, it was like a mansion still, you know, like,
yeah, like, it was a big place.
So even with all this space that you're given, like, I don't know. Like, I feel like this is a very common looking up, like, place for a lot of people. Like,
I do too,
down,
and I
like,
think it's also important that we never see anyone who lives with somebody else. I think everyone lives alone.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Nobody lives with anybody else.
No one was married. Like no one had like a husband or like
Yeah, none of that ever came up.
probably because they're all freaking replicants that don't live for only 4 years.
J.F. Sebastian, was that his name?
Mm-hmm.
What a guy.
Was it J.F. Sebastian or Sebastian J.F. or
It was
like I think it was J.F.
Sebastian.
Yeah. J.F. Sebastian.
I'm pretty sure. That poor guy just
J.F. Sebastian. Yeah.
gaslit into helping the robots.
He just designed eyes, man. Or no, that was the guy in the igloo. He was the genetic. Yeah, never mind. He was the full genetic.
Oh, you're our best friend, our only friend. Ooh, help us.
Mm-hmm.
The
man,
robot bro.
Roy, the guy who played Roy, the main dude, the main replicant, like
Roy.
He had to like the end, like where he's just like monologuing, like he was like he played that well. Like he was
very well. Yeah, and I loved that last moment because it was a surprising turn of like faith for AI, like kind of a death is inevitable sort of thing, so why fight it? Kind of. But also kind of a maybe if I impact you here, you can do something else about it. Like there's levels to the shit here.
Mm-hmm.
And I really liked that ending where he does end up saving him, because I feel like that should, like, I was to make another Marvel connection. I know we do this every week where we're always the Marvel and Star Wars brains working. This is kind of what I would have expected of a Deviants and Eternals conflict coming to a head end. Like, yo, we're not all that different. I'm so sorry about this. We're just going to go somewhere else. If y'all can like build us a ship and send us off to our own planet, that'd be dope.
Yeah, and the other part of the ending where he gets the girl, they get to be together, basically. His friend saying, yeah, she'll die, whatever, die, they all die, like basically just, was that his way of saying like, you can have the girl? And like, or did he realize it, like I think he was just saying like, okay, like, yeah, I won't say anything, like just go ahead and leave with her. But like,
I think it was also kind of calling into attention that like when he was like, we all die. I think I just kind of read that as like a philosophically like, yeah, bruh, I don't think you should feel guilty about whatever the fuck you want to do to this robot. All right. They die, we all die. All right. Deuces. Have fun.
Yeah. Their relationship, Rachel and Deckard's relationship is just weird. Like
it gets off to a weird, uncomfortable start that I don't really know what to make of. I still don't either. Like, I'm still pretty clueless what it was trying to do.
If she is a replicant, if you tell a replicant to do something, do they just do it? Like she's different from like the others, I'd say.
Yeah.
Like, she's very different. And like, part of me, like, because Harrison Ford literally is like, say that you love me, say that, you want me, say you want me to put my hands on you. And like, she does. And like, there's part of me that's thinking that like, it's just her hardwired, like she has to comply. So she is, I mean, it's very forced. It didn't feel like she was wanting it at all. Like, in my opinion.
No, yeah, like
she's literally running out the door.
If at any point you like shove a woman and push her up against a wall and force yourself on her, you're in the wrong.
Like, were we supposed to be thinking that this was a romantic moment? Is that what they were going for?
I think so, and I'm just not feeling it.
Yeah, like this was not romantic at all. Like,
because like I did some reading like afterwards just to like see, because this was one of the more like it was one of the scenes that I was most curious about, because by the end of the movie they're treating it like it's like kind of a normal relationship and like it was just something that happened. And so I was like, okay, what the fuck was that then? Because that didn't feel right to me. And I look into it, and everyone just all they have to say about it is that they fell in love. And I was like, y'all glossing over a really important scene for that whole relationship, and I don't quite understand it.
It felt like to me that like she was forced into it and just complied. Like I think Harrison Harrison. I always refer to him as Deckard. I think Deckard actually developed like feelings for her.
I do too.
And like specifically like whenever he figures out she's a replicant and like he feels terrible for her and he's like, damn, like this sucks. And like talking to her, like I could see how, you know, they develop like feelings there. But then everything's thrown off like with this scene. Like, it was progressing like I thought it was, you know, and I thought like, I don't know. I guess I don't know what I thought was going to happen, but this was not what I thought was going to happen. That's for like.
No, yeah, like I expected it to culminate in a way that felt a little less, sorry, but rapey.
Yeah.
Like this felt very sexual assaulty. Like I was like, this doesn't feel right at all.
The foot on the door, pushing her against a wall, like I guess if this is what they're going for, then I hope it's not. But like I hope it's not them just being like, she doesn't know what she wants, but Deckard knows that she loves him too, so he's just for like making it happen. Like,
yeah,
if that's what they're going for, that's just like, that's not it, you know. Like
that's just not the way to go about
it.
Yeah.
I can't
like
see
the way
any
to go
other
about that is a little bit more consensual oriented. It's like maybe you don't aggressively slam the door and aggressively throw her against a wall, but maybe you calmly ask like, hey, dead ass.
Like
what
it makes
on?
whenever at the very end when he comes back to her and he's like, do you love me? Yes, I love you. Do you trust me? Yes, I trust you. It makes it like less impactful. Like you know, like I don't know. I didn't really feel the love, basically, you know? Like I just kind of had to yeah.
I'm curious if that's the point though. Like was it the point to be like he can only love like something he's in control of, basically, like.
And I guess maybe it's just, I guess we're thinking of it as like human on human. He knows she's a replicant at this point, and he's killed replicants his entire life, you know? So like, I guess it makes sense that he wouldn't think like consent wouldn't matter here, basically, you know? Like, yeah, it's like, wrong.
God damn, that's not quite the development you want from your protagonist at that point.
Yeah, like, I don't know. Maybe this is like a Final Cut thing. But if the Final Cut's if that's what you're, I don't know. I don't know if the original was different anyway. I don't think it is. I think this is what they're going for, and it's just executed poorly, in my opinion. I think they just executed this very poorly. They had the right,
I think so too.
They had the right intentions in mind. Not with that scene, but like with the relationship and stuff.
It seemed like it. Like I was like it was what actively pulled me into the movie at a point. Like because I was kind of like, all right, what are we doing here? And then like they started talking a little bit, and I was like, okay, I think I like Rachel and Deckard on screen together. They got a good rapport. And then that happened, and I was like, what the fuck? Why go this direct? Like because it did like. The tone of it was just wrong. Like they executed terribly, but I think they were going for something romantic, and it just does not feel that way at all.
Yeah, I don't.
I hope they weren't
I don't know
going
how
for
people
that.
could
I hope
just
I'm
skip
reading
over
that
that.
wrong.
Yeah, I don't know how people could just skip over that. Like the fact that we're both saying the same thing though, like there's no way. Like I don't know. I can't see this any other way. Like there's no part of me that's like, yeah, this was romantic. Like
Yeah, it was hard to watch. I was like, oh god damn, come on. It was a bad look on Harrison Ford.
and like that's just kind of how he like in his roles, like every one of his roles, he like I don't know, but like Indiana Jones, it was done kind of done beautifully, like at the end, like with the whole like play nurse or whatever. Like that's how you do it, you know. You like
Yeah.
I don't know, like I don't know. I can't. I'm trying to
Well,
defend
and
this. Like yeah, I don't know.
since it is Harrison Ford, I think it's fun to kind of compare and contrast roles. You know, we've got a few iconic roles here with Han Solo and Indiana Jones, and less iconic, but the movie itself is more iconic with Rick Deckard. I think it's interesting coming off Indiana Jones, where he is, you know, the one who is being chased. To see him being the one who is doing the chasing, and this one is interesting. You know, he's the bounty hunter. He's the one after the other person. While in Indiana Jones and in Star Wars as Han Solo, he's the one running away because he's the scoundrel, and in this he's semi-cop. It's a interesting light on him, and it was something that I didn't quite get for a while, like that he was a bounty hunter.
Mm-hmm.
Thought he was like a detective.
Yeah, I thought this was like a. I don't know. Is this like a? There are other Blade Runners, like we had that. He's the best of the best, you know.
Yeah.
So like, there's others like him out
well,
there.
and I like
but,
that this is the classic action movie. I'm done. And they're like, we need you to come out of retirement. We need the best. And he's like, I won't do it.
I don't work anymore. Yeah, like I'm done. You're saying I have no choice? Like basically, you know, it took nothing to get him back into it. Yeah, like
no, I didn't.
I don't know, maybe like that is on purpose, like that scene. I don't know, like maybe it's I don't know, we're supposed to I don't know, we're supposed to like him. Like they're not trying to make us hate Deckard, you know?
No,
like,
yeah, but I think they might be calling into they're definitely calling into question his morality though, like on multiple occasions. So it is reasonable to have those conversations about like whether he's making the right choices or not. Like, because you know he is killing sentient beings. Like he's not like retiring.
He's retiring them. Yeah, that's what they call it, to feel comfortable.
There's something I watched. There was something I watched recently that was like they coded murder with retiring, and I was like, as soon as I saw this, I was like, oh, that influenced something I watched recently because I couldn't remember what it was. Maybe I remember The Good Place having something that was called retirement, but it was like eternal suffering in hell. But
yeah, like I'm reading people trying to explain this scene, and it's like they're calling this like romantic, and like they're saying that like Rachel's in this state of existential crisis. She's overwhelmed with, you know, she's just figuring out she's a replicant. All she wants is to be human. That's like what people are saying. She wants to be human, and this affection is too much for her. It's she's figuring out she's not human, and then she's experiencing a very, very human-like emotion like love, and that's why she runs away. That makes perfect sense to me with this person's explanation. Like, makes sense why she's running away. I fully understand that.
yeah.
But like, that's what they're focusing on, is like why she runs away. That's the easy part. The part that is like under question is why does Deckard act the way he does?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's
it's
like
not about
people
what
just
she
aren't
does.
like people aren't. I don't know. This person is saying I wouldn't say it's misogynistic. Rather, it's passionate and forbidden. It's what we see as romantic and impulsive. Like this was in no way romantic. Like
No, it didn't feel like, and they like played the music and they made the faces and like they said the words in some capacity, but it was like it just felt wrong. So like I just didn't like it. It ultimately rubbed me the wrong way, and therefore it just kind of like tainted a little bit of this movie for me.
yeah.
Nevertheless, it was a visually stunning film.
So I think this movie is just it's elevated to a point where you're told it's so good that anything bad that happens in the movie you kind of push aside because of all of these like things you've been told about the movie. So people like because in my opinion this movie wasn't all of that. Like the only thing it really excelled in for me was the visuals.
Yeah, I was mildly disappointed with what I was watching.
And like I go in with very low expectations for movies now. Like I do, and I still was kind of disappointed. Not saying this movie's bad. Like it is still like, you know,
extraordinarily well made.
Yeah, like it's just that like some things were executed a little weird, and I think some story elements were lacking a little bit. But I think it is a movie that is known to be good, so people suspend some of their critiques of it. And that is like, I scroll down a little bit more, and this is like what this person said. Like, they're basically saying it's crazy to them that people are overlooking this because he said, like people are basically saying, like, oh, she really wanted Deckard, for herself, but she didn't realize it, so Deckard had to force herself on her. And
that's
people
just
like
not not justifiable. Like that's not like a justification
that's
at all.
Yeah, this person says you can use that way of thinking to justify a whole lot worse. Like it's not a good way of thinking.
No.
And like the idea of a woman not knowing what she wants, but a man has to force himself on her to show like that's just not romantic. And I don't even like, I'm curious if like in the 80s if this was even seen as romantic, you know, like this isn't like a time thing either. I don't think. Like I guess it could be. Yeah, I don't. It could be. I people were just a lot more misogynistic back in the day, so.
Just on the whole,
yeah, it could be a time thing, but
damn, bruh.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's just not a. I don't know. Didn't expect it to see, like, you don't want to see that out of Deckard. I guess if the idea is that they're going for it to be romantic and for story, I'm cool with the relationship. The relationship is cool to me. Like they're
the replicant human, maybe replicant.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know.
But this, it just kind of tainted the whole movie. Honestly, like it took me out. Like during the scene, it took me out. I'm like, whoa, like this is just weird. And yeah, I don't know. But I guess if I'm taking that out, like I still, even taking that out, I still don't think like this is like
all that.
Yeah. Visually, very beautiful. Even the soundtrack was cool. You know, it was.
Oh, I liked the soundtrack a lot. The soundtrack was very, very nice to listen to, and I actually have been playing it the whole time we've been talking about it here.
Yeah, I think that's a very good thing that we should continue. It gets us like in the mood, like in the vibe of the universe. Like I said, that's what a soundtrack is supposed to do, and I think this one does it. It did pretty well. It fit the vibe that they were going for.
To be certain.
But like I'm trying to think. I don't know of any other part of the movie that I might be missing.
How about the product placement? the modern Coke ad,
Ah,
which was clearly an updated, is what made me realize this movie's been cleaned up a lot since 1982. The final cut was actually finalized in 2002. So it benefits from a lot of the technology probably developed by, you guessed it, George Lucas during the creation of the prequel trilogy. So it's very interesting to kind of think about what this movie might have looked like in 1982, because like I remember the old versions of Star Wars. Like I knew somebody who had them and I watched those. And even those are hard to remember what it looked like at some points, because now I've seen the special editions so many fucking times and the modern 4K cleanups and stuff. So like I can't even I have no frame of reference as to what the original Blade Runner might have looked like. It might be a completely different fucking movie. But it's visually stunning. Like I was blown away by the fact that this was a 1982 production, and it became more clear whenever I looked up the final cut was created in 2002. I was like, that makes more sense to me.
yeah. Like this, I don't know. I mean, it's how many? Yeah, I mean, 5 years after Star Wars. So like, I feel like it still would have looked good. In the 80s.
It still would have looked good.
Definitely.
Like, and it was,
it still would have.
It was a year before Return of the Jedi, and if it had a similar budget, it certainly was going to look good. But even Return of the Jedi and Empire have been cleaned up a lot by the special editions and stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I just have to watch it again or something. But I didn't really get the hype.
I'm not gonna lie to this. I don't think you do. This is certainly one that I don't think I'm gonna revisit. Not a lot of enjoyment. It was, I mean, visually stunning. Like there are shots in this movie I absolutely loved. And in that regard, it was fantastic. But you got to keep me in it with the story. I got to like the protagonist, which can't say that I really did, which is hard to do with Harrison Ford. Because I love Harrison Ford. But this just wasn't the best light painted. He was painted in for me. I think there were some good performances. Like the acting was phenomenal. Like Harrison Ford did a really good job in the role, and Sean Young did fantastic as Rachel. And who was Roy?
Rutger Hauer. Hauer. I don't know if that's how you pronounce Hauer, but
yeah, that's what I'm gonna go with. But yeah, he did fantastic too. Like there were several great performances in the movie. It's just like the story lacked so hard for me. And there have been movies that have executed on the making me think, like, and it like really intrigued me, but it didn't disappoint quite like this did. You know, like Apocalypse Now made me think every bit as much as this movie made me think. And the story drew me in a hell of a lot more than this movie would have. And I don't know if it's unfair to compare that. Like, that's Francis Ford Coppola's opus. And
take the one scene that we're uncomfortable with in Blade Runner, like the rapey scene, and you have a whole movie of that, or half a movie at least, in A Clockwork Orange, and I'm still coming out of that movie like, oh, this movie I still enjoyed. Like the story was good enough to back up these awkward things on camera that are happening. Like if this story was to the level of A Clockwork Orange, Apocalypse Now, you know, I think we could have gotten past that scene a whole lot easier. But I just, the story just wasn't there. An interesting story. It's just, I don't think they executed it well.
It's another one that like has the bones, you know, like it could have
the framework. Oh my God. Like I hope Blade Runner 2049. Whenever I watch that,
I'm absolutely going to watch that. And see, that's another
Yeah.
thing is that like the universe they've built is super cool. Like, and a credit to them for that. Like, I definitely felt like I was in their universe. They made it feel very real and very atmospheric, and I was there. You know, like I believed it. And that's something that, you know, we've credited a lot of movies for, like Star Wars and the 36th Chamber of Shaolin and The Godfather and stuff. Like, it's important if you're building a world for me to feel like I'm there, and this movie did that for sure. It certainly did. But again, it's just the story. It's just not quite hitting the way it's supposed to.
Yeah, people talk about this movie like that it's like one of the greatest of all time. You know, like that's how people talk about it, and I just do not see it. Like,
I don't either.
It is not. It's not up there with the other movies that we've watched.
And I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm kind of like excited that we have another one that we're not that high on, because it doesn't make me feel like I'm entertained by literally anything. Because this movie,
like sci-fi, AI, like this is right. I should
have loved it.
This is right up my alley, and yeah. I mean it's like sad that we have a movie that we didn't enjoy, but it is just kind of like nice having
like a framework, like you know, like now I know for sure we're being fair whenever we're critical. Like I
thought I was gonna love this movie. Like I was going in like I thought I was gonna love this movie. You know, I was like just thinking like ahead, like of what we're gonna talk about in the pod. Like I was like, yeah, this movie's probably gonna be pretty good. Like we talked about like the month of March. We're like, yeah, this is a very good month. We have all these movies, and and Blade Runner. Like, yeah, this is gonna be good.
And Blade Runners, I mean, like, and maybe the iconicism carried it a little bit in our expectations of it. And I don't want to completely discredit it again, because like there are really good elements of this movie. The storytelling through subtext is something that's difficult to do, and they did it on several occasions. It was just at some points it didn't come off quite clearly. And maybe I'm a dumbass, or maybe it was just a little bit incoherent at points. But
yeah,
who's to say? Who's to say?
I don't think you're a dumbass.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah,
thanks, buddy.
Just a weird movie. Weird, good,
yeah,
good, but also bad at the same time. Not bad, but
this is. I will say. This
average.
Is the first movie we've watched so far that I would be comfortable labeling overrated.
I'm there. This is overrated. Like, it's heavily overrated. The fact that people can get through a rapey scene and just be like, yeah, it's beautiful, romantic. It's look at the moment. You're too far in. You know, like, you're too far in with the iconicism of the movie. Like,
and I'm curious if that is like a product of the time. Like, is it like because I'm watching it in 2021 or 2022 for the first time?
I don't know, but these, at least people that are commenting, like these comments are recent, so like people are still watching this movie and are like, yeah, that scene's cool. Like,
true, but I do think it's important, like.
Definitely a factor.
If they watched it in 1982.
True.
Or if they even watched it in the 90s or early 2000s. Like, it's like we're probably of a different mind having watched it for the first time post like the Me Too movement and all of that, because I mean we pay a lot more attention to it, as it always deserved a lot more attention. But it eked me. I was like, this, because it immediately made me go, fuck, I don't like our protagonist. And like this, there are times where, like A Clockwork Orange, I'm not really supposed to like our protagonist, I don't feel like. In this, I felt like I'm supposed to like our protagonist. And I don't really like our protagonist.
Yeah.
And that's a fail for me.
I don't know. I think
because it didn't feel like they were going for anti-hero either. Like it.
Yeah, it just felt weird. it just felt weird. Like I'm even trying to think of like where I enjoyed this movie, like where I stand, like as a, and I
And you
don't.
know, I think the problem is that like I'm easy to entertain. So if you bore me, I had a rough time. You know what I'm saying? Like, and this movie at points, I was like, I don't get on my phone when I watch the movies we're going to talk about. I glanced at my phone every couple minutes watching Blade Runner. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Like I was like, yeah, there were parts where I was genuinely bored. Like I was just like, okay, like move on, please. Like get to something. Like just show me anything. Like I don't know. Like there were just parts that it seemed like it was dragging for a while. And yeah, I don't know.
and I will say, like,
overrated,
but Harrison Ford is good as this character. He does a really good job in the role, and it's just I think the fault falls on the writing side of things because the direction was pretty good. I thought it was beautiful visually, and the acting was superb at points. Like it was just it like I said, had all the bones, but like the story just was not there. So let's get to the rating of this movie. I don't have much else to say about it.
Yeah, I'm ready. As we usually start with how we enjoyed the movie. Usually that's like an easy one, you know, because it's usually easy. But this one, like,
I'm hovering at that like 3.
Like 2 seems too low.
2 seems too low, but like okay, I guess the framework we're working with here, if we're in this territory, how do you feel about MASH compared to this movie?
It's about the same. No, I feel like I was in this one a little bit more.
I'd say so too.
Like take out the Rachel stuff. Like everything else wasn't that bad, you know, like
it was just kind of dull. Like it just didn't surprise me a lot.
I'd say it's about it. I enjoyed this more than MASH.
Okay, I'm with you there. Which is why I'm comfortable labeling it like a 3.25, somewhere in that range. Because I mean, like, I will say again, like, visuals are extremely important for me when I'm watching a movie. So if like I can at least be looking at something pretty, that's awesome. And I'm gonna at least enjoy it a little bit. And this absolutely blew me away visually. So like I have to be a little bit higher on it. But story apparently is very, very important for me, as it should be.
Yeah, I think
that's what keeps you.
I think a 3 flat is more where I'm sitting. I don't think I can give it more than a 3, in my opinion.
Okay, I'm there with you.
It's definitely above like a 2.5, but I can't give it much more, I don't think.
All right.
As a genre, as a sci-fi film,
I'm willing to give it a little bit here. Because like the visuals are important for that category, and the visuals,
the city, like the sci-fi city,
the sci-fi world.
Yeah, they killed that. They killed the look of the city. Even like little things like one of the replicants is taking a shower and they get out and dry their hair in like a sphere, thing. That was cool. You know, like the sci-fi aspects were really cool. The flying cars.
I liked and like the questions that were posed by the AI. Like I don't want to forget that. Like the questions and the philosophical conundrums this movie poses are a part of the point. And they did a really good job at posing those conundrums. It just kind of like felt like at points that felt like they tried to make that a priority over the story, and they still didn't quite succeed at pushing it on us like that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I'm trying to think. Like, this is not a 5 out of 5. Like,
oh no,
definitely. I think 3 is too low.
Yeah, I'd go 4.
4 sounds about right. Yeah, like they did well, but lacked in some areas. I'd say, yeah, 4 works. Now as a film, because visually killed it, acting pretty much killed it. It's just the story.
Soundtrack killed it. Like, it has a lot of great elements. So like it's still on the better side. Like it's not a bad movie. It's just it's lacking. There's something.
How big of a part does the story weigh in a film though? Is the thing. Like,
pretty big, but
I feel like it's half of the movie. Or more than half of the movie.
I tend to agree, but I do also think it varies depending on how good they did otherwise. And like visually, this is stunning. It is wonderful to look at. The performances are great. They did fantastic. The soundtrack is killer. Like those are great aspects of this film. So I think it at least deserves a 3.5 to 3.75.
Okay.
And I'd be willing to go up to 4.
Okay. Yeah, I feel basically doing everything right, but just the story suffering feels like just a point off. Yeah, like a 4. Like I think 3.75 maybe is
I was thinking thinking of it like,
because an 8 out of 10.
If you lack on the story, it takes away 1 point. Like, I don't know about that. It feels like it might take away a little bit more than a point.
I'd say a 3.75 or like a 3.
That's where I'm landing. That's where I'm landing for sure.
That makes this a 3.58 on average. It puts it barely above Taxi Driver.
No shit. We liked this one more than Taxi Driver, huh? That makes a lot of sense.
I feel like I did. I feel like that.
Oh, I definitely did.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, man, I forgot that we just like were that low on Taxi Driver. I just like haven't thought about it that like at all since we did that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, the Taxi Driver had an enjoyment of 2.5, and this one was a 3. And
that makes sense. That makes
sense. Yeah, it puts it as like the third lowest movie now. I think MASH is number 1, then Taxi Driver, and then Blade Runner. Yeah, I overhyped, overrated, I think is what I will leave this movie with, basically. Like, that'll be summed up into, like, all my everything is summed up basically as it's kind of overrated.
And I'm with that. I certainly am. I don't have much else to build upon that with. And thus concludes the month of March.
That is it.
We had Apocalypse Now, The Shining, Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark, and Blade Runner, and that is 79, 80, 81, and 82. And so let's get a rundown of the year of the month. I mean, so what was the month looking like for us? 79, starting with Apocalypse Now. How'd we feel on that?
Apocalypse Now, we gave it a 4.57 at an average. We said it was a 4.7 as a film, a 4 in enjoyment, and 5 as a genre, and a 4.5 Apocalypse Now. That fits. Very good movie. The Shining, one of my personal favorites. We gave a 4.77. We gave it a 4.8 as a film, a 4.5 as enjoyment, and a 5 out of 5 as a horror or thriller, which feels about right. Raiders of the Lost Ark ranked very highly, 4.93, tied with The Godfather. A 4.8 as a film, a 5, or a 5.1, depending on how you're looking at it, in enjoyment, and a 5 as a genre as well. And then Blade Runner gave a 3.75 as a film, 3 of enjoyment, and a 4 for the genre, which averages out to 3.58. Still making this the most successful month by 0.01. February was 4.45. This was 4.46.
God damn.
So
the weight that Apocalypse Now, The Shining, and Raiders carried was so great that Blade Runner couldn't quite knock it down far enough. I love that. I love that for March. And Frankly, it feels right. This was top to bottom so far my favorite month, I'd say.
Very different movies too. We had a very wide variety of movies.
War film, horror film, adventure film, and then sci-fi film.
Yeah, this was a very cool month. I'd say, yeah. I mean, every month has been fantastic. Like, these movies have just been awesome to watch.
They've been banger after banger after banger.
It is just getting better and better and better. And maybe that's just because, like, our movie watching skills are getting better and we're pulling out, like, I don't know, like, more and more things. Like, I'm watching movies very differently now. Before I started this project and where I am now, like, I'm a very different movie watcher. Like, No Way Home is a week away, week and a half. And, like,
time travel moment.
Like, everyone's going into this movie like, oh my God, like, this is going to be so freaking good. I can't, it's going to be the best movie ever. Like, Andrew and Toby are going to be in there for the whole thing. Like, I'm going in there like, if Andrew and Toby show up, cool. I don't know. I'm just going into it as like a movie. Like, obviously I'm excited. This is Spider-Man.
Oh yeah.
I can't hide that. But, like, I don't know. I'm going in with, like, nothing. With just absolutely nothing. And
I think it's going to be good, though.
It's yeah.
Little time capsule moment for later on at the end of March for us whenever we go back and listen to this.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. It is the last week of March right now.
Technically.
So the movie was fantastic, actually. Looking back on it, yeah. Toby, whenever he came in, was awesome.
I loved Andrew, dude. Andrew's classic. How about Electro killing the Green Goblin? I couldn't believe that
dude.
happened.
Oh my God. Can you? Oh, and they did the little Spidey meme. You remember that part of the movie?
Oh yeah, absolutely. How about when Peter Parker, Andrew Garfield, and Peter Parker, Tobey Maguire saw they met Sylvie, right? And they were like, "Wait, you fell in love with Loki?" And they were like, "But isn't that a variant of you?" And they were like, "Yeah, I guess." And then they like looked at each other and they kissed on the mouth. That was my favorite part of
that. Was insane that happened. And this movie, they took a lot of risks, but it worked. It worked for the movie. It was fantastic, and I can't wait for the next installment. Spider-Man
Part 2.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Because obviously at the end of the movie, Doctor Strange sent Tom Holland Spider-Man through a portal that led to his bowels. So we have to wait 2 to 6 weeks until Doctor Strange shits him out. So let's get on to what we got on the docket next week. 1983. And for the record, I just want to clear it up. It's December 7th as of recording this. December 7th, 2021.
Yeah, we have not seen that movie. Obviously, if you couldn't tell. Because you know what happened. We have zero idea. So
if any of my predictions were correct, that movie was
insane.
Quite
insane. Yeah, what if like we were right like for the first couple and they were like, wow, like they're having some pretty good takes on this movie, and then we get to.
Well, I wanted to start as like maybe as possible, and then like get as outrageous as I could. So like I was like, when Electro killed Green Goblin, like, and that's gonna make someone who's seen the movie go, well, I don't think that.
Did that happen? Wait a minute. Yeah, like, what if that does happen? That's wild.
That is wild, and I'm glad it's documented if it does happen. But 1983 is next on the docket, and I think this is one that this is the first one where I'm like, maybe we don't have this set in stone.
Scarface? Maybe.
Scarface, 1983. As of right now, we plan on watching Scarface for 1983. If that is going to change, you'll find that on Twitter at PennyBloomPod. Where we will keep you updated on what the potential. And you know what? Let's talk through it right now. Let's go to 1983 and see what we could talk about. I know I went with Scarface, but
The Outsiders.
Man, I don't know if I'm ready to dive back into the mob thing yet.
The Outsiders came out. Scarface. A Christmas Story. I guess if we want to get like a Christmas movie in here.
Well, Kurma episode in.
National
It'd be a little bit more
Lampoon's
seasonal for
Vacation.
us.
Yeah. I guess Return of the Jedi came out this year. But
God damn it. Nah, I can't do it.
I
can't
know.
do it.
I know.
But wouldn't it be fun to do a Christmas Return of the Jedi live commentary? Oh, that'd be fun. That might just have to happen anyway. But let's keep working through it. Maybe not on that.
Yeah, not a lot of like Scarface is the highest like critically rated movie of this year, like by pretty much a long shot. Every other like rating on here other than Return of the Jedi is a lot lower.
Okay, then you know what? Fuck it. Let's go Scarface. I am ready to get back into the mob thing. Let's do this shit.
I think this
Say
is
hello
like
to my little friend, motherfucker.
This movie, out of every other movie that I'm looking at, like this is the movie of the year. Superman 3 came out.
I was mainly trying to maybe switch. What's that?
Octopussy?
Octopussy. Legendary film.
You've seen it?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. It's a James Bond movie.
It's a James Bond movie.
Wow. I would have.
I mean, hold the phone. You trying to talk Octopussy for 1983? Really throw a wrench into this thing? We've never done a James Bond film, but what if we just went ahead and did Octopussy? Like, dead ass, like, I haven't seen it since I was like 11. So, like, it would be like wild to dive back into because I really don't remember shit about it besides being like Octopussy. But
yeah,
I mean, a James Bond film. I like that's one that we don't have on this 52-year list, and it's one that definitely had a lot of influence on a lot of things. And I just think it would be hilarious if the James Bond movie we picked was Octopussy. Sometimes you just got to throw a meme. You got to throw a meme in there.
Roger Moore as James Bond. I've never seen his Bond before. Like even heard of like his Bond. Hey, I'm down. I'm down to do it.
We're going Bond with it. Here, let's see where we could potentially watch that because that's also important. That was kind of why I didn't want to do Scarface. I was going to have to go get a DVD. Octopussy, 1983. Watch on Pluto TV.
What is that?
I do not have Pluto TV. Yep, gonna have to get that DVD too anyway.
Maybe we can. I don't know. Maybe we pick like maybe just having a James Bond movie on here is a good idea, but maybe we just go with a different.
Different year for a James Bond flick.
I'm looking at those now. So, okay, we're not in the 60s. So we're already past the 80s. Okay, so in 83, there was another Bond movie released. I guess there's two in this year. Never Say Never Again. Another Bond movie that came out this year.
Oh, okay. With Sean Connery, now I'm a little bit more intrigued.
In 87, The Living Daylights. In 89, A License to Kill. That has a pretty high score. 87's
another one that is a little bit more open.
The Living Daylights.
So.
Yeah, that received a pretty high 74% on Rotten
Tomatoes.
But
Never Say Never Again is directed by Irvin Kershner, who directed Empire Strikes Back.
Ooh.
So Never Say Never Again might be our move.
Let's see if this one can be watched.
That's another one you got to rent or buy, but I think that one might be more worth it.
Yeah, because this is Sean Connery's James Bond, and that's
Sean Connery's James Bond.
I've heard of Sean Connery as James Bond.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't care. I don't care where we go with this. I'm down to.
All right, I'm down to clown.
Never say
No,
never
because here's
again.
the thing. I'm not a big Bond guy, but I've heard nothing but good things. You know, people love James Bond. So if we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this right, and we're gonna go with Never Say Never Again. With Sean Connery's Bond. Wow, didn't think that was gonna how this was gonna go, but you know, sometimes you just got to do a Bond movie.
And who knows? Maybe we'll watch the movie and just be like, maybe Scarface is better. That could still happen, you know. But
we're not drawn to anything.
This it has a 70% on Rotten Tomato, which like they're pretty critical on Rotten Tomato, like usually. So I mean, I'd say it can't be bad. It's Sean Connery as James Bond, like
right.
Yeah, I'm
unless you were hyped to watch Scarface. If you were hyped to watch Scarface, let's watch Scarface.
I only know Say Hello to My Little. That's all I know about that movie is Say Hello to My Little Friend. So, and it's Al Pacino.
Yeah. It's Al Pacino though.
Hey, this is your show. I'm just here for the ride.
Hey, bruh, this is the creative process, and y'all are getting what would usually be on patreon.com/CoroBloom right now. A little sneak preview of some of the behind the scenes that goes on. Shit, I was going to look something up. I don't remember what it was.
I mean, I'd say 83, we either go with a Bond, like the Bond, one of the two Bond movies, or Scarface. Like, I don't think there's any other options that we really have.
All right. Al Pacino, Michelle Pfeiffer, Stephen Bauer, Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio, Robert Loggia, Miriam. I don't know. 1980 Miami. Determined Cuban immigrant takes over a drug cartel and succumbs to greed. Scarface sounds dope, bro. I haven't watched it in forever either.
Maybe we find a different Bond film. Maybe
we
stay with
we're
Scarface.
Doing Scarface. Sorry that for the last 10 minutes
big of a movie, yeah.
Yeah, sorry that we spent 10 minutes of this the last 10 minutes here trying to just decide what the movie would be that we changed from Scarface to, and we ultimately landed again on Scarface. So thanks for wasting your time. Glad you were here. We loved it. We loved every second of it. I was Colton Robertson. I was joined by Joseph George. Thank you very much, buddy.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Oh, always a pleasure to have you. This was 1982's Blade Runner. Ended up with a 3.57, correct?
8. 3.58.
Damn. I was so close. But yeah, if you would, head to patreon.com/CoroBloom, where you'll find over 22 hours of exclusive content, all for your enjoyment, all exclusive to there. A bunch of artwork I've also made exclusive to there. Go follow on Twitter at PennyBloomPod, where if I decide to have another on-air Manic episode, I'll go ahead and tweet out whether we've changed it to a Bond movie or not. But nah, it's going to be Scarface. I'm pretty confident it's going to be Scarface. It's probably going to be Scarface.
90% Scarface.
90% Scarface.
Yeah.
And if you would follow on Instagram at PennyBloom Podcast. And remember, peace, love, and bloom. And it's probably going to be Scarface.
You know,